Um, Today you all have heard a lot about the great, better? Today you guys have heard a lot about the great research and innovation that's happening at this university, but what you haven't quite heard about yet is how UT is helping to prepare people to be that next generation of researchers and innovators. And that's what we do at the EVS program. Last year, at last year's symposium, we had to make all sorts of disclaimers saying we were not officially approved yet. Good news, we're officially approved. So we can officially have students, yes. Applause is in order. But its structure is still very much the same as we discussed last year. It's operated by the Environmental Science Institute, but the degrees themselves are offered collaboratively by the College of Natural Sciences, the College of Liberal Arts, and the Jackson School of Geosciences. So students come together and take 64 hours of prescribed work, regardless of which discipline they are particularly most interested in, and then they pick a track or a discipline in which to round out their studies, where they take about 30 hours of additional coursework in either geology, geography, or biology. And that gives us a unique opportunity to really build a cohort of students across these traditional silos that universities put up, and it helps us train them to solve problems. We've heard the word interdisciplinary used here repeatedly when it comes to problem solving. So we're teaching them how to do that early and often. We do that by giving them a lot of hands-on experience early and often and often and often, so that by the time they graduate, they probably have as much experience as your first-year graduate student has when they finish their studies. And Dr. Banner will actually talk about what that coursework entails.
Thanks, Deborah. Hi, everyone. So this is very much a science degree. When we're putting the degree together, we felt that it was essential. It was a very strong technical background across the sciences, very interdisciplinary, is really important for advancing in terms of sustainability. So just to give you just a broad brush overview of that technical background is math, chemistry, physics. Everyone has to take, just like other science majors, 2 semesters of each. Then they take biology up through ecology. They take geosciences up through hydrology. They take geographic information systems. They move on to economics and policy, and then a whole menu of things such as climate and oceans, etc. So it's very rigorous. As Deborah mentioned, there's 3 tracks. And aside from all those courses I talked about, which are courses that already exist at the university, we've actually developed now 5 to 6 new courses specifically designed for this degree program. And let me tell you a little bit about those. So the first one is a UGS class that I co-teach with Professor David Allen in the Chemical Engineering Department here at UT. And this really takes a broad view of a global picture of sustainability. We teach it from the perspective of how the natural world works in terms of sustainability, and also sustainability in terms of how the engineered or the built world works. We give students both of those perspectives. And one of the next courses in the sequence then is this field seminar in environmental science and sustainability. It says learning the landscape. Here the students are trying to avoid getting poison ivy as they do measure a transect of vegetation through the riparian zone, look at issues such as biodiversity and invasive species right out here in Waller Creek. Then we'll go off and go to a less urbanized watershed and make those comparisons. The next week we go to watersheds, aquifers, estuaries down on the coast, the Marine Science Institute at UT. So again, to echo Deborah, this is the beginnings of the hands-on experience early and often, and also an emphasis very much on field experiences, because a lot of research shows that the learning that happens in the field is much more vivid than the learning that happens when some old guy's talking to you and pointing at PowerPoints, apparently. That's what the research shows. And then we move not just from these natural environments, everything I've been talking about, watersheds, aquifers, estuaries, but we also do it in the built environment, still within the same course. Using the campus as a laboratory, we have one week, it's a whirlwind tour of sustainability efforts here on campus. With people from operations and water and housing and food services, people like Jim Walker and Megan Jones and Rusty Osborne have participated in these courses. That's one way we get into the built environment right here on campus. And another venue that we get into the built environment is we go out to the Mueller development, as Bob Patterson talked about earlier, just to see that it's not just the campus is not the only crucible these students can learn in about the built environment. Within the same course, we also have students write proposals for the Green Fee projects. You heard earlier, this is a $5 fee on your tuition. sums up to about $500,000 a year that the university has to actually spend on these projects. And it's a competitive proposal writing process. Those of you who haven't heard about it, I encourage you to start thinking of your ideas early in the spring semester. There'll be a call for those proposals. And 4 of these projects that students in this course wrote were funded in this last round. And one in particular, I'll talk about the improving the quality of Waller Creek. I won't talk about it except to say I think it's be a really nice mesh with the folks from the Wildflower Center that we just heard about. So Julia, that's for you. I encourage you to talk to the students who've been funded through this Green Fee project. Okay, and then moving on from that course, then there's the next course the students would take that are these new courses designed for this degree is Research Methods in Environmental Sciences. So really giving the students the rigor of developing hypotheses, how to test them, how to analyze their data, going through everything all the way through statistics, how to form projects, how to get along as teammates in a project. It's really on-the-ground experience in terms of how to do research. Then having that formal course in it, another requirement in the degree is actually doing research when they're in their senior year. So they're required to do an independent research experience with faculty members through internships with companies. And my gosh, I think every talk I've heard today, I think, here in the morning and the afternoon, every one of those projects, I think, would benefit from having a student who is, has this kind of technical background and research training. So Deborah is actually coordinating all these research experiences for these students, and if you have an idea, wow, if we had a senior undergrad who had all this background and how to do research to put them on our project, I think that would be an excellent synergy in this area. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Deborah real quick.
So I'll talk just a little bit about the numbers here. We all hear the news every day, and we all understand that employment prospects aren't necessarily rosy for most people who are approaching graduation. Fortunately, this is one area in which they are rosy. Like it says up there, the Department of Labor has predicted that employment prospects for environmental scientists are much higher than average, which is good. Most of them go into federal and state governments, but about half of them go into the private sector. And to help better prepare students for the private sector, we have not stopped developing this program. It does not stop here. We are currently in very early talks to set up a sustainable design track to complement the biology track, geology track, and geography track within the program. Hopefully that by the time we get here next year, we'll have some more good news to share with you all about where that is. And this is our contact information, and we'd love to hear from all of you. One of the best things about this program is that it really brings together undergraduates, graduates, and all different departments at this university just to do the thing that this university does best, which is to educate students. So we'd love to have you all involved. Thanks.